All right, so in class today, we were continuing to find equivalent ratios with real-world problems. Today was a little bit more difficult because instead of 2 tape diagrams in every problem, there are going to be a total of 4. I promised, since it was a half day, to send home a video of how to solve the example problem number 2. And then for homework, 3, 4, and 5 are going to be due tomorrow. That being said, in order to get full credit on all of these problems, they must include the following 5 things, which the kids recorded in their notebooks today. There needs to be a number sentence. They need to annotate the problem, so underline the keywords in the questions. They must label everything and show their work. Each one of these things will count as a point. So I will read the first problem and then walk you through it. Peter is trying to work out by completing sit-ups and push-ups in order to gain muscle mass. Originally, Peter was completing 5 sit-ups for every 3 push-ups, but then he injured his shoulder. After the injury, Peter completed the same number of repetitions as he did before his injury, but he completed 7 sit-ups for every 1 push-up. During a training session after his injury, Peter completed 8 push-ups. How many push-ups was Peter completing before his injury? That being said, I'm going to underline the question first or highlight, depending on what you want to do, because the answer of our question should be the number sentence, which is criteria number 1. Peter completed blank push-ups before his injury. This keeps us focused on what this giant problem is asking to make sure that we have the correct answer at the very end. That being said, I'm going to go through and underline more key information. I know that originally, so before Peter's injury, the ratio of his sit-ups to push-ups was 5 sit-ups for every 3 push-ups. I know that after the injury, he's doing the same exact number, but his ratio was different. And his new ratio is going to be completing 7 sit-ups for every 1 push-up. Another key piece of information is that after the injury, or during a training session after the injury, he completed 8 push-ups. And of course, that question is really important. There are 2 components to this problem that we are going to be working with. We have Peter before his injury, and then we have Peter after his injury. With ratios, order matters, and so I know that it's sit-ups to push-ups, so labeling is so important so we do not get confused here. We have sit-ups to push-ups and sit-ups to push-ups. Before the injury, we know that that ratio was 5 sit-ups for every 3 push-ups. Therefore, I'm going to make 5, 2, 3, 4, 5 sit-ups for every 3 push-ups. I know that after the injury, there are 7 sit-ups for every 1 push-up that Peter's completing. So I'm going to draw that as well. Okay, now I have my 4 total tape diagrams, which marks off my diagram section as well as my annotations because I underlined the key questions and details. I've also been labeling absolutely everything to help me stay organized. From here, I'm going to go to the first non-ratio number that is mentioned, because if I look here, it says that during a training session after the injury, Peter completed 8 push-ups. That being said, I go to where it says after the injury. We know that the actual number of push-ups that he completed, not the ratio, but the actual number of push-ups he completed was 8. That being said, I'm going to go to where it says push-ups, and I know that he completed 8. Since there's only 1 ratio box, because the ratio is 7 push-ups or 7 sit-ups to 1 push-up, I only have to divide 8 into 1 box, which means I'm going to put 8 here. Because the repetition or the number of repetitions does not change between before injury and after the injury, that means that the number inside of every box is the same. making everything in here 8. In a lot of ways, I've solved this problem. However, I need to go back to the original question. That's where I have my number sentence going on here. That being said, it wants to know how many push-ups was Peter completing before his injury. So I'm going to go to where it says before the injury, and it wants to know push-ups. So I'm only going to focus on the number of push-ups he's doing, and that is 8 times 3, which is 24. I can revisit my number sentence and say that Peter completed 24 push-ups before his injury, making my number sentence complete. And I have my math here. Obviously, 8 times 3 is one of those facts the kids should know by now. However, there are going to be some larger numbers with 3, 4, and 5. If you follow this process with 3, 4, and 5 and read those problems really carefully, this should come somewhat together for the kids. If they have any questions or you have any questions, just let me know. But S21 is going to be due tomorrow. Have a good night.